Welcome to Fandom Schmandom, the fandom podcast that covers everything you love and more. I'm Sierra Obermark.
And I'm Sam Williams. Today's episode will be beneficially bellowing about Stranger Things Season 1, Episode 5 through 7. And without further ado, we will, as Roger Smith says, dive on in. Get up to 88 because it's time to travel back for our story recap. Episode 5 of Season 1, Hopper is a non-stopper. Moving past my terrible rhyme, Jim Hopper is an unstoppable man infiltrating Hawkins' lab. Joyce's ex-hubby Lonnie has come back to Hawkins and he sucks.
Ooh.
And Mike has figured out where Will is. The upside down. Cue terrible scream from a movie like Scream. Hopper gets caught at the lab and wakes up to find his place is bugged. At Bugged HQ, Dr. Brenner realizes that Elle is with the kids trying to find Will. Jonathan and Nancy decide to team up to find the Demogorgon. The children find out where the gate might be, and Nancy proves to be a very good shot. Flashbacks about Elle in the submersive chamber give us more clues about what's going on, but then Elle uses her power on Lucas and knocks him out. Cut to Jonathan and Nancy. They found a dying deer and a monster. But it's okay, because Nancy just manages to trap herself in the Upside Down by herself with the monster.
Nailed it. Episode 6, it's okay! Because in episode 6, Nancy immediately finds her way out. Cue love music. The gate seals itself in the tree, and we're back to roll intro. Steve Harrington is being cuckolded by Jonathan Jeffries Byers. Wait, no he's not. Hopper realizes that he may be chasing after a lost girl named Jane, aka 11, and not Will. In a typical horror's shower scene, we get a taste that our characters might actually have PTSD, as Nancy relives her experience and asks Jonathan to sleep, and we literally mean just sleep, with her for the night. Mr. Clark is in danger. The same woman that killed Bunny, the Burger Man in episode... Wait, Benny.
I definitely heard Bunny on the show. I was like, that's that guy's name? That's crazy.
The same woman that killed Benny, the Burger Man in episode 1, is trying to track down which kids used the AV radio to contact Will with 11. 11 steals some product placement, and Hopper and Joyce go to speak with her mother, who is completely incoherent. Lucas goes on his own to find the gate. Mike and Dustin try to track down 11. We just find out that 11's mom was part of the MK Ultra program and was pregnant with 11 when she was on CIA drugs and also has powers? Steve writes mean things about Nancy on a marquee. Jonathan beats up Steve. Lucas figures out the gate is in Hawkins' lab and Dustin is nearly killed? In a wild scene, a middle school bully demands Mike jumps off a cliff and kills himself, or he'll cut out Dustin's baby teeth. 11 stops that nonsense, and we find out she may have opened the gate.
What a wild episode. Episode 7!
Insane episode.
Episode 6 is insane. Episode 7. Everything is coming together, which might be good news for Jonathan, Nancy, Hopper, and Joyce, but it's not for Dr. Brenner, Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and 11. Dr. Brenner knows where 11 is, and the boys have to hide her. Meanwhile, Steve is reflecting on his life and whether or not he wants to sell Obi-Wan death sticks, while Hopper leads the older teens and adults. And they all meet together. Well, not Steve. Hopper and 11 meet for the first time, and they all swap info so everyone's on the same page. They get 11 a sensory deprivation tank in the school gymnasium, and she confirms Barb's murder. And they find Will is still alive. Cue the Williams. Dun, dun, dun. Which is also great, but now they have to go get him. So that's cool. Joyce and Hopper hop to it, and they're stopped by police of some sort, and Will is left in the Upside Down as the monster bears down on him. But before we get to the nitty-gritty schmitty, we welcome history teacher extraordinaire Elizabeth Wade Stickle to provide us with vital information that we need to know. Welcome, Liz. Give us that integral real-life history parallels about what MK Ultra actually was in real life.
Hey Fandom Schmandom, this is Liz, your friendly local historian. I'm here for Expert Corner. Charles Manson, Britney Spears, Stranger Things. What do they all have in common? An alleged connection to the mid-20th century top-secret CIA project, MK Ultra. Project MK Ultra was preceded by the U.S. government's somewhat infamous Operation Paperclip. Post-World War II, the U.S. recruited Nazi scientists to get our space program off the ground and to learn about their unethical research on human subjects in the Nazi regime. Some had been prosecuted at Nuremberg already. Several clandestine projects grew out of Operation Paperclip. Many of them focused on studying mind control, torture, and brainwashing. The program was treading water for a while, but after the Korean War, the U.S. redoubled their efforts and prioritized cracking the code for brainwashing. The U.S. government was spooked by prisoners of war returning from Korea, suddenly sympathetic to communist ideologies. Surely they were being mind-controlled. The CIA poured $10 million into attempting to master brainwashing and mind control. In 1964, the project became more specific, trying to develop a truth serum that could be used on captured Soviet agents. MKUltra largely experimented on unsuspecting and non-consenting adults, both in and out of the intelligence community. They used LSD, buying almost all of the supply of this synthetic psychedelic in the country, amphetamines, opiates, and other psychedelics, among other substances they experimented with. They also utilized hypnosis techniques and sleight-of-hand magic that ended up in one of their manuals. They also outsourced experimentation to Canadian hospitals. The program took place under CIA Director Dulles and the direct supervision of so-called Poisoner-in-Chief, Sidney Gottlieb. While MKUltra has been proven to exist, Stranger Things also drew inspiration from conspiracy theories around the Montauk Project. Stranger Things' working title when it was pitched to Netflix was actually Montauk, but we'll get to that another time. Some of the clear connections between Project MKUltra, their goals around brainwashing and mind control, and Stranger Things are, I think, clearest in seasons 2 and 3 with the Mind Flayer. While they use a D&D, not trope, a D&D creature as the vessel for this mind control, this subconscious idea planting, it very much is rooted in this very real instance of the U.S. government experimenting on our own civilians. Even in the series itself, they allude to the idea that Eleven's mom may actually have been a victim of MKUltra, thus passing some of their successful experiments outcomes to 11. We also see connections in the secrecy of the government base in Hawkins. Project MKUltra was so top secret that people inside the CIA didn't know what was happening. It was on a strictly need-to-know basis, and most of the time, even subjects of experimentation were not considered need-to-know. We definitely see this in Eleven's relationship to other victims of the program, as well as the program director in the show. Even though he puts himself in this paternal position that Sidney Gottlieb probably wouldn't have been in, we do still see that idea of the experiment itself being what's precious, being what's guarded, and the human subjects being pretty squarely collateral damage and data points at the end of the day. In real life, once Canadian victims realized they had been part of the program, they actually did sue the United States, and the U.S. did settle outside of court. American victims, however, were not so fortunate. Once documents became declassified as a result of this Canadian lawsuit, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor reiterated for the American public that the Nuremberg trials had made very clear to the global community that getting consent in human experimentation was not only critical, but essential and required. And so in the wake of MKUltra itself, we actually lost a lot of documentation as a result of some directed destruction of materials. But what we do have pretty clearly paints the picture of a large-scale human experiment that should not have been allowed to happen. And as we reach the end of Stranger Things, we're starting to see much the same, especially with the rise of Vecna, the tangible consequences of human experimentation, even in this supernatural setting. So, this has been Expert Corner. I'm Liz. See you next time.
Thank you so much, Liz, for coming in and doing Expert Corner for us. What a fascinating run-through of MKUltra, the CIA project. What was it, Pinhead? No.
Paperclip.
Project Paperclip. Before we dive into the whole thing, I feel as though we must discuss the elephant in the room. And I don't want to make too much light of the situation of, like, real people being unethically experimented on and everything. But sleight of hand magic.
That was wild. As soon as I heard that little tidbit, I just my mouth just dropped and I kind of threw my hands in the air and just went, "What?"
Listen, we know you've been on a ton of LSD because we keep injecting it into you without your permission. But would you please pick a card?
Any card.
Any card. What do they have, Steve Martin as a kid in there? Just,
I'm so confusing. I guess, I guess just playing with your mind and maybe seeing if you can, the only thing I need to know more about this, Liz. I have to say, but I'm just imagining them saying, okay, a normal person can't catch these details as a sleight of hand magician is performing, but maybe if we pump you full of all of this cocktail of shenanigans,
amphetamines, and
you'll
psychedelics,
be able to pick out the exact moment that the card goes behind there. What are they hoping to achieve from that one? I think that's hilarious.
So stupid. Okay, so
such a wild, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so moving back into a more serious analysis. First of all, the horrors of MKUltra are quite bad. I do always appreciate when people are able to take really horrific things and craft an interesting story about the dangers of those continuing. Because all of this horrific experimentation being done to Eleven's mother, which we then see, as Liz was saying, like, right, she is on LSD when pregnant.
Right.
Eleven's mother. And that sort of seems to amp up Eleven's telekinesis or something to that effect, is what Stranger Things is going with. And then all the dangers that occur from then on are really at the behest of Dr. Brenner and his terribleness.
Exactly.
Now, there's some stuff with Vecna, right? It's not like we don't know if Vecna's parents were experimented on or any of that sort of stuff. But really fascinating. And of course, I really liked Liz pointing out that the Mind Flayer is essentially an allegory for attempted mind control and planting. What did you think?
Yes, I really thought it was interesting that even though we're, as Liz pointed out, using a D&D creature, essentially, as the example, it's a very nice parallel to the realities and what they're really pulling from, because it almost personifies the horror.
Yeah.
Instead of it being something that's very mental and very individual to the person experiencing it, and something that you can't really explain, this is a way that we are able to put a face, essentially, or a being behind the horrible thing that has occurred.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a very interesting insight and way that the Duffer Brothers have put together a horrifying creature, which, if you know D&D and or what a mind flayer itself looks like, as we see in the show with the pictures that the kids are looking at in the books, we get this mental image of something truly terrifying that is messing with your mind. And then we also have the comparison to real people messing with people's minds.
Yeah.
And it almost gives it a lighter quality because it's not a human doing it to another human.
Yeah, totally.
But at the same time, it almost makes it more horrifying because you have another unknown evil.
Right.
That is compounded upon what is happening. So very, very interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. I was just talking to at my other job about allegory, as one does as an English teacher, and pointing out, Dune, the Timothée Chalamet movie / the Frank Herbert novel, is an allegory about the way that the U.S. treated the Middle East in terms of gathering oil in the 1960s, which of course then repeats in the 2000s and is still going on today. George Lucas's Star Wars, he's on record as saying, is an allegory for overreach by really powerful nations. So for his example, in the 70s, it was him talking about the Vietnam War with the United States. He felt like there was overreach to the Vietnamese people, that sort of stuff, and how that creates rebellion naturally. And it's really interesting to see that this whole show is an allegory for governmental overreach and how that begets problems throughout that you cannot control. And so you may be trying to control something, but that control is an illusion because it just will disappear away from you instantly. Really neat stuff. It really also makes me want to just dive into the history of all of this and go research everything that the Duffer Brothers have been researching.
Yeah, exactly. It was touched upon in my history classes in high school, but I think I'm trying to remember, maybe just U.S. history in junior year of high school or whenever that was. But you don't really dive too deeply into that with teenagers. So it is definitely a fraught time in our country's history. And it would definitely be interesting, though, to learn a lot more. Liz, can you please teach me a class? A one-on-one class on this topic. I would love it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. We really appreciate this.
Find your donut holes. It's time for our Knives Out category, where we sooth out which 3 storylines are the most vital to pay attention to. Number 1. The Kids and Elle. What can she do and what can't she do? Number 2. Nancy and Jonathan. Focus on the Demogorgon and how to attract and potentially kill it. Number 3, Hop and Joyce. The agreements with the lab and government, these don't happen yet.
Yeah, I added that because they don't actually have any agreements with the government yet.
Okay.
So it's just Hop and Joyce.
Okay. Number 3, Hop and Joyce.
Okay, so this first storyline is the Kids and Elle. What can she do? What can't she do? What are her powers? And this over these 3 episodes, this storyline contextualizes a lot of the fantasy elements. So we get, what is the Upside Down? They talk about the Veil of Shadows. And we get to an understanding and the name of what the Upside Down is going to be called for the rest of Stranger Things history, which is really cool. Yeah. We discover what a gate is, that how another dimension is created. We get that with Mr. Clark. We get how it disrupts fields of gravity and creates, electronic magnetic differentiating things that mess with magnets and compasses and stuff. We get Elle's powers being more explored and sort of a better understanding of what she can and can't do. So we see her in like the purgatory space. We see her moving things with her minds. We see her breaking kids' arms. We can also see that she can levitate Mike from like hundreds of feet and whip him right back up when he jumps into the
Super
quarry.
Crazy.
Which is like, it feels like that's one of the hardest things she does all season.
I think, honestly, like, one could argue that, like, some of the other things that she does that are pretty crazy still has, like, momentum going for her, at least.
Yeah.
But this is absolutely the opposite.
Right. She halts momentum.
Very, very crazy.
And then lifts him back up and over into... Carefully. Into safety. But like, and we'll get to, we'll talk more about like the wildness of that scene, but in terms of her powers, it's gotta be one of the most difficult things. And then she just goes and like breaks Troy's arm, the bully's arm, with a snap of her neck. And then also earlier, she like isolates her powers to squeeze his bladder so that he pees himself. Like, there's just some crazy wild, like, and we know that it takes effort. Like, it's not completely soft fantasy here. We get words later about her powers from Dustin and Mike, and we know that she's like, she needs to fuel up. We know that it takes effort, that she bleeds when it happens, but like, it's not like she gushes blood during some of this stuff. Versus when she takes out the Demogorgon, like, you see all of her blood vessels sort of working and stuff like that. So I'm interested here as to why she's not like just full on running a huge bloody nose when she lifts Mike up.
Yeah. No idea.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're on the same page.
No, it seems like there should be a little bit more exertion on her part. And, sometimes when she's using her powers, she kind of like has to rest. She just falls down, something like that. But it definitely seems like, in comparison specifically to a lot of the other things we've seen so far, she should have more of a draining effect on herself specifically for this.
Well, and I felt that way too about the smashing of all the glass that she does in the Eggo.
Yeah.
When she, because she has that awesome moment of like, she goes and gets Eggos and like everybody started eating Eggos all of a sudden again, in real world. And then she leaves and she smashes the front glass of like everything in the shop. And it's like, that seems like a little bit more than shoving Lucas.
Right.
So, it's fascinating. But the real question here, I think, is around the creation of the rift. Because is this Elle's doing? Is this Vecna's doing? Is it just happens to be what occurs? Because she goes, and so she's in this, like, weird purgatory space, which is, like, filled with water.
Questions.
Why is it filled with water?
I don't understand that. I could kind of see it, if she's like in the tank and then, it's kind of like, the water acts as like a barrier between the worlds or something like that. And she's in the water and in the sensory deprivation. But then later when she's not using using the sensory deprivation tank and she's just using like white noise and things, there's still water.
Yeah.
So it maybe because it's a good conductor?
Is it?
I mean, of electricity, isn't it? Isn't?
No, it's a great conductor of electricity.
So, like, I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, that's the only thing I can think of is somehow it's tied into the, like, electromagnetism idea that we get in a couple seasons. I don't know.
This is always the frustrating part about the visual medium when it comes to fantasy and science fiction, is that there's these, from a creative standpoint, like, this is a neat visual effect with the
Yes.
water drips as well auditorily, and like the
Mhm.
and everything sort of happening within water. It's a great visual thing, but unlike with writing, you have to figure out, okay, what are all the purposes of this, or am I
Right.
doing soft, right? And so you don't have these sort of visual limitations of like, okay, but if I do this, what's the point of it? It looks great,
Right.
which is awesome. I mean, in writing, you have a lot of other problems too. I'm not just trying to say that like fantasy is only good for novels. It's great in everything, but this is a specific visual problem where, you know, you get these
Yeah.
awesome, oh, this looks so cool, but why? And like, I still don't
Why?
quite understand after watching the show many times, why is it filled with
Mhm.
water? I thought for a while it was just, oh, well, she's in the sensory deprivation tank, that's why. But then as you pointed out, like,
Yeah.
when she's using white noise, it's not like it's just like TV static all around her.
Right.
So,
Which could be interesting, but yeah, it makes it seem like it's something else.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just based on her surroundings in the real world.
right, and so is it just like is it a visual representation of what's going on in her mind? Because I would accept that just fine. That this liminal
I'd
purgatory
accept it.
space is just like her in her mind palace, essentially. But it does feel like it's a physical place. And we know this because she goes and touches the Demogorgon with her 2 fingers. She
Right.
puts it in his back, and that's when he turns around, she screams, and then the rift is open. And it's interesting here because the rift doesn't open in the deprivation tank.
Right.
It opens outside
Yeah,
of it.
it doesn't
in a
open
different
where she is.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't open where the Demogorgon is either. It's not like he's in the wall in the upside down feasting.
Right.
So it's, you know, there's some definite questions. They're not huge deal breaker questions about what's going on.
No.
But in terms of world building, it is unsatisfying. Why does the rift open?
And yeah, why does the rift open, when it does, where it does, how it does? Confusion.
And like, so do you think it is just a physical connection? It's her just
I think
touching?
so.
Okay, tell me why.
It has to be. So I think that it has to be because she's able to see people and listen in on the conversations and find people and whatnot. But she only actually opens the rift when she physically touches the Demogorgon. And so it's like when Mr. Clark is explaining and punches the hole through the paper,
Right.
that she's essentially punching the hole through that space and like through the veil essentially and creating a rift. I think that has to be the actual cause of that. It's the physical like breaking of the barrier,
Okay.
essentially.
If that's true, which I think you're onto something there. If that's true,
Mhm.
I think that's the thing that shows that the scope of her power more than the Demogorgon or anything else that she's done. Because
Yeah.
Mr. Clark says it would have to be an extremely powerful force to open up
Right.
a dimension. And if she, because of her powers, is able to go into the space and make contact, and it just feels like walking around and touching something to her, she's actually
Yeah.
way more powerful than I really realize.
Well, and also, so like skip forward to season 3, the Russians have to build this machine that is absolutely crazy, and it takes them a long time, and they have to be in a place where the rift has already been opened before just to reopen it.
Yeah.
So in order to reopen the gate, they need all this power and all of the, you know, the green acidic
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
it is, you know, like essentially nuclear power or whatever. And this huge machine and all of this just to do what she did accidentally.
Yeah.
So
Ugh.
absolutely wild
So cool.
when you put it in the context.
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. And really important information disseminated here for season 5 as well, in terms of prepping y'all for
sure.
Vecna. Is like, and we know that she has the face off with Vecna. We know that she's already beaten him once, but in terms of what the scope of her power is, I don't think that we actually see just how powerful she is like this again. Because her opening the rift is
Right.
crazy powerful, if it is indeed just her. But
Yeah.
second storyline, Nancy and maybe it's going to be my boyfriend, maybe not, Jonathan Jeffries Byer, which to everybody who listened to the introduction was like, is Jonathan's middle name Jeffries? No, it's Michael Jordan's middle name. And so that was a shout out to Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So sorry about that, y'all, if you were confused. So they've got this huge focus, Jonathan and Nancy, on the Demogorgon. We left off with our last episode talking about how Jonathan accidentally takes a photo of the Demogorgon. That photo gets ripped up by Steve. Nancy picks it up, stitches it back together, and sees the Demogorgon there. And so now she shows Jonathan the photo, and they decide to team up. And at Will's funeral, which, again, Jonathan's now starting to believe Will's not dead. Joyce already believes Will isn't dead. The kids already believe Will isn't dead. So there's a bunch of people at this funeral that are like, kid's fine.
We're just here for appearances.
Yeah, for real. So Jonathan goes into, I think, his dad's car, picks a lock.
Yeah.
And then takes out this revolver, which he gives this very sad story about. My dad took me hunting when I was 10.
Oh, so upsetting.
Made me kill a bunny, and I cried for a week. And she's like, "Oh God!" And he's like, "What? I'm a big fan of Thumper." She's like, "No, not you. Your dad." But it turns out Jonathan's not very good at shooting things.
No.
And Nancy is actually very good at it.
Yeah, excellent.
Really excellent. And they do a nice job, I think, here of showing, okay, she's got a natural talent. And unlike with a lot of other female characters, Stranger Things, which has already sort of been built on, hey, Eleven's super strong, Joyce is super amazing and talented, and Nancy's super cool. You don't hear a lot of Mary Sue complaints, and I'm very glad about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the ladies have a pretty good representation in the show.
Yeah.
And a wide range as well, which I think is very nice. It's not just one type of strong woman, or strong girl or anything like that. Like, Elle obviously is very, essentially physically strong, because of everything that she can do with her powers. And then Joyce being very, like, mentally and emotionally strong. Nancy intellectually strong. And then also has some of these physical talents as well, despite, her slight build and things like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Very morally strong as well.
Well, not previously, but sure.
No, but I mean, in terms of, like, these things shouldn't be happening.
What's right and wrong? Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Like a sense of right, a very good sense of right and wrong, and same with Joyce as well. And I think, just in general, they do a very good job of representing women in a very good way. And then when she get Max, you've got her
skater punk girl strong is amazing.
Awesomeness, yeah. So good, so good. So, and again, a completely new, unique,
and Lucas's sister as well,
character as well.
Whose name escapes me right
Erica.
now. Erica, yes, Erica. Thank you.
She is so annoying for a while.
Yeah.
And then she kind of grows on you a little bit. But yeah, super irritating with the bell at the counter.
Yeah.
And Robin, another great female character. Just racking them up. Nailing it,
indeed. And it's interesting. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the term, Mary Sue is a derogatory term usually used to explain women characters that are too strong, too quick for a lot of people, normally male viewers, but not always male viewers. And in this case, I think there is room for an argument to be made. Oh, why is she just suddenly good with guns? But I think that they've done it in a way that shows she has a natural affinity for it that is satisfying for the viewer. And I think that's what escapes that sort of argument, why that argument sort of falls apart, is it's done in a satisfying way for the viewer to hold on to. And even if they didn't, women can be naturally inclined to shooting guns. I've met very good, like, my wife is an excellent shot with a bow. Like, like it happens sometimes, and we can all be a little bit less Mary Sue trigger happy. Not to make a gun pun on a Mary Sue comment. Anyways, so Nancy's a good shot. They find the Demogorgon. They realize when they find this dead deer, right? The deer's already bleeding, etc. And then the monster comes and gets it. They realize, blood draws this. And whether or not, I don't know like that Nancy ever realizes, Barb was cut that night. I don't know that she says those lines, but it's certainly inferred that they understand this.
She doesn't, I don't think she says it in that moment, but she does say it.
Later on.
Because she's listing this, and it showed up because of the blood here. It showed up. Barb had her finger, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Nancy shows an uncanny amount of bravery in this sort of storyline because she finds this organic hole in a tree and is like, sure, and just crawls into it.
Which also blasting those, like, women don't want to get gross stereotypes
absolutely.
there. Because,
ew, it's nasty.
As a woman who probably would, like, hesitate before climbing through a gross thing like that, props.
I'd be scared. I'm amazed that nobody was like, hey, is there a possibility that this is just a mouth for a weird upside down tree and it's going to eat me if I enter it? Like, that would be my first thought. There's no way I'd be going in.
That's a valid concern.
But she goes in and then she's, her teenage stupidity gets the better of her. She goes in without telling Jonathan. Yeah. And I know they've kind of just been fighting, because they're romantically getting to know each other, and they find that they're not at all similar, but they see each other's faults really well. But, like, she goes in without telling Jonathan, and then she's down there by herself with the Demogorgon and a gun, which is like, yeah, okay, babe. Like,
and then she just starts, like, wandering around.
Barb?
Just... Oh, wow. I crawled through a tree, and now I'm in another forest, but it's really dark, and it seems like maybe this is, like, there's, like, floating things, and, I guess this is, like, she just acts like it's so normal.
Well, and then also...
just, like, bye!
There's this awesome hint to season 2 and moving forward. When she attracts the Demogorgon, it's not because she touches it or she's in view, she steps on a vine, which is a huge thing about season 2, is don't step on the vines. Yeah. Right, it's all an interconnected hive mind. So that was really cool. It was nice to see that little. Oh, okay, they are planning this out. Not that I doubt the Duffer Brothers at all, but
no,
it's a cool little tidbit there. And then she escapes pretty easily, and you can hear each other in the Upside Down. It turns out, right?
Yeah,
Jonathan's calling for her, Nancy's calling for her, and it's unclear if it's coming through the hole of the tree or if it's just like kind of
in the air.
And I feel like it's kind of there because Joyce later and Jonathan can kind of hear each other in episode 8 in the finale, but and of course Will can hear
Joyce. and in season 4 that's like a whole thing where they're like walking parallel to each other and like calling through essentially. Yeah, I'm realizing as I'm talking about walking through and walking parallel that I'm doing all these hand gestures that totally work for an audio medium.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, no, they're walking
parallel. The auditory experience is really enhanced by all of my wild hand motions. Y'all are welcome.
So then Nancy does manage to escape. She climbs back through the weird gross hole, which I will say, the one thing about this season, other than this wild middle school serial killer moment that I don't like, is at the end of season 5, the hole starts to close.
Yeah.
And then it's like, they kind of play around with the bark motion being like, oh, am I closing, am I not? But it's like, no, at the very end of season 5, you were at the very end of episode 5, you were clearly closing the hole, and now it's open. And I just, it's a little cheap and I don't love it.
Yeah. Just a little.
It's a great cliffhanger. It works well for the TV medium format, but it's kind of like, So then, we get Steve enters this sort of love triangle, which of course he does. But Steve and his friends, it's unclear who actually writes the message at first, and then turns out it's Steve's awful, terrible friend who spray paints Nancy, starring Nancy the Slut Wheeler, on a marquee for all the right moves. Absolutely horrible. Just a disgusting remark.
Horrible.
And Jonathan beats up Steve, which put Steve down for he's 0-1 in fights.
For those of you going to keep track at home, 0-1 currently.
0-1
Cue Robin with her board of you win, you lose.
So, and then Jonathan gets arrested, and we have this awesome moment where Hopper's already with Joyce, which we'll get to in a second, and he comes, and he's like, what happened? And Jonathan's like, you won't believe me, and he sidles up to him and he goes, give me a try.
Yeah.
Why don't you give me a chance? Something like that. Which is just this great little moment of like, oh, we're all coming together! Yay!
Yay!
And that is Nancy and Jonathan's storyline, which is, I think, the most riveting of all of them from a like a plot perspective. Then there's Hop and Joyce. Okay, so Hopper at the very end of the last episode, our last podcast episode, had just cut open the already autopsied ? Will Byers. Why are there no stitches? Why are there no stitches, Will? Why are there no stitches, Will? Okay, and finds all the bedding fluff inside of him, and is like, okay, so this is all terrible. He wakes up in his apartment after getting caught in the lab, trying to infiltrate the lab. He wakes up in his, like, cabin, which is not the cabin in the woods yet. It's his, like, little, long, ranch-styled house by the lake. And he they've scattered pills everywhere. They've put cans
clearly a setup.
Yeah, very clearly. Cans of beer. And what is it that he does immediately?
He starts looking around to figure out what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he thinks he's bugged, which is just like, oh, it's so cool how smart he is. And I just dig that scene so much. Although I will say, you don't have to rip up your couch cushions.
I feel like every time that I see, it's a common thing when people start getting paranoid that like something's hidden in their house or whatever, and they start, or even in and I think it's a Man from U.N.C.L.E. They're in the hotel and but they always rip into the cushions. And I'm like, you really think that they took the time to unstitch a cushion, put it inside the cushion, and then re-stitch the cushion? Like, there's not like a rip in it. Yeah. There's not if there's a zipper, maybe use the
that
zipper. I mean, there's a lot of ways to, like, get in and see if this is here. A metal detector, maybe. Literally anything except for destroying your couch.
Like, okay, it doesn't look like a very expensive couch, and it's a horrible upholstery on it anyways, but
if that's your only couch...
And that's your only couch, and also, it's not like he does a very thorough job looking. He splits open the middle, he digs into it, and it's like, oh, must not be there. And it's like, bro, you finished the job.
You didn't even, like, really look.
It's probably all bugged.
He just really hated that couch.
Really, he's like...
He needed an excuse to get rid of it.
Oh no, they bugged my apartment. Rip. Oh, I guess I have an excuse to buy a new couch. That's so funny. He does eventually find a recording device that's in one of his main lamp, I think. He undoes it, and it's in there with his light bulb and stuff, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
But it means that he's onto something. So he finds Joyce, and in one of my favorite moments, Joyce thinks it's Lonnie. So they've just had this giant blow up about Lonnie's really just there to collect money from the organization that owns the quarry. There's no danger signs. Person. There's no all of this, so he should be made accountable. Which I'm like, yes, actually, all of that's true. They should be held accountable. And if Will really did die in that.
Except for the fact.
But he's not actually dead. And also Lonnie's just not supportive, and he's just there for the money, and I love Joyce being strong in that whole moment. But Joyce thinks Lonnie has come back. And she's having a fit, as one does when you think that your undead child is on the other side of some weird mystery world that you have no idea what's going on. She starts screaming at him, and then she opens the door, and it's this awesome moment of Hopper with his finger over his lips, holding this sign that says, "Don't say anything." And then it cuts, and it's just, the feels are great.
They're so good. Yeah. I love that scene.
And
it's very good.
And then Hopper and Joyce sort of go about trying to track down any information they can, and eventually, when they reach Jonathan, they're able to start putting all the pieces together. And that gets us to this deprivation tank, where Joyce is the one saying, how do we make this all better? Because Dustin and Mike are going over, she needs to refuel, she's really low on battery power. And Joyce, ever the cognizant human being, how do we make this better? Yeah. And then that's when Elle is like, I think I know how. And they call Dr. Clark, and we get moving, and we get that awesome classic scene of making the deprivation tank out of a kiddie pool in the gym.
Yeah, so good.
So those are your three best ones. They're fantastic. They're great. They lead us into episode 8 very, very well. And you've got a note here about what episode 7's really doing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like throughout 1 through 6 episodes, you have very distinct storylines all happening simultaneously. But then in episode 7, it's exciting because we finally get to see all of them overlap. And then we really need to focus on one storyline, which is Brenner's singular focus on finding and retrieving Elle. Yeah. So it's almost like we have all these different things happening, and then it all comes in together. They share all the information. Everybody's in the know. And now we need to focus on this other important thing. And it's finding and retrieving Elle is more important to him than research, more important to him than the Demogorgon, than anything else that he has going on, which is fascinating, especially with how we see from flashbacks and then what we see in the future, how he treats her and their relationship and everything. The fact that she is that important to him is very vital.
Well, and it's interesting too here. So this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler for the play. One of the things that really inspired the Duffer Brothers is something called the Philadelphia Experiment, which is an urban legend that claimed a U.S. Navy destroyer, aka the USS Eldred, was made invisible and teleported during a military experiment in 1943 involving like intense electromagnetic fields. This actual experiment opens the play. Mm. And it turns out that Brenner's father is on this ship.
Ah.
And so that sort of is why he's so interested in all of this stuff. And then so he lost his dad to this, because in the play, this ship ends up in the Upside Down and everybody dies.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And that's how I remember it best. So I might not be 100% on the details because I saw it once and I wasn't like taking active notes during the play. And so you see, he's lost a family member like that already, and then he loses his son going into the rift, and so everything becomes about this one child who can do all of these things that he's interested in finding out information about. So Elle becomes like his entire world, which I think is really fascinating. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Keep a finger on the pause button, everybody, and rewind that tape. It's time for the prestige category. For what did we notice on this watch through? Sierra.
Episode 5 gets us our first Upside Down.
Indeed. It really does.
Reference. Yeah, it's the first time we hear of it referred to as the Upside Down. It takes 5 episodes, which is kind of wild. And then that, carries through for the rest of the show, which is pretty great.
Indeed. I wrote down a couple of things here. Lonnie just sucks. He sucks as a husband.
He does.
He sucks as a dad. Remember?
Terrible.
He's in Jonathan's room and he's got like something of the nature of Creature of the Black Lagoon movie poster. Mm-hmm. It's not that exact one, but it's a monster with a hand on the throat of a young woman kind of dragging her down into...
It's like Night of the Living Dead or something like that.
Of that nature. And he points to it and he says, "Take that down, it's inappropriate." Like, who are you after all these years to come marching back into my room to tell me what or is not appropriate? Like, clearly Joyce goes into their bedrooms and sees things, and if she's cool with it,
fine with it.
Who are you? Like, you have no power here, bud.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I wrote down here, wait, Elle doesn't know how to get to the Upside Down? Is she lying? And then I realized, oh, yeah, that's right, she is. She's lying through her teeth this entire time.
Yeah. I wrote down that Lucas certainly has a lot of expectations for a kid who's only said about 10 words. He just thinks that, like, Elle should know everything and be able to do everything, and he just met this girl like 2 days ago, and somehow she should be omniscient and like omnipowerful and like everything, and just be able to do whatever they ask because they totally have a right to just demand things of her, question mark.
It's really interesting because it's such a juxtaposition from the way that Mike treats Max next season. So we know Lucas is jealous of the amount of attention that Elle is receiving from Mike because Mike and Lucas are best friends. And then Mike is super jealous of the attention that Lucas is giving Max in season 2. Yeah. But instead, Lucas is thinking way too much of Elle versus Mike thinks way too little of Max.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
It really is. I have written down a couple different notes. Jonathan knows where his dad keeps his gun, and he can pick locks, and he can take killer photos and make breakfast and be caring of his family. Like, why is Nancy dating Steve at all? Jonathan is a full package of a man.
Yes, but Steve has the hair.
Jonathan does have very bad hair. That's very true.
Yes.
But also, like...
Steve the Hair Harrington.
Steve the Hair Harrington, yeah, that's true. But also, like, Nancy's smart enough to know that there's more to life than hair.
Yeah, I mean, but every teenage girl can get distracted by the hair for a hot minute. Fine. Come on.
Stupid.
She figures it out.
She does, eventually, but she's an idiot.
She does.
Yeah.
What teenager isn't?
That's very...
Sorry, teenagers, but it's true.
We're all a little bit of an idiot when we're teens. It's fine.
Yes.
Hopper turns to Joy's side is my favorite part of the season because he starts out so like, oh my gosh, is he just with Lonnie? Where like Will's probably just with his dad, all the way to like,
right.
I know everything that you've been talking about is real, and I'm here to help. Yeah, that's by far my favorite part of the season. All right, major question here: how is there a gate in the tree?
The only thing that I can think of is that the Demogorgon, when on the scent of blood, can open a temporary passage to get through, same as him attempting to go through the wall.
But how?
In Joyce's place. I don't know. Because Demogorgon magic?
But how do Demogorgons have magic?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay. So this is my real speculation, is that Vecna is doing this. That Vecna, the other telekinetic being in the world that's been in there, is open. But then a part of me is like, but then why isn't he just popping out and doing that? And is it just like because the rift is weak?
I mean...
And therefore things are now starting to pop open everywhere? Like, I just don't understand why this tree has a hole and why a Demogorgon can be like, I can now press through to the other side. It's not, he's not the Doors. Okay, but... Sorry, that's a terrible joke. Break on through to the other side.
Yeah. No, I got you. So, okay, but here's the thing. So here, there's a gate in a tree, and the Demogorgon can pop through, and Nancy can go through. In the next season, Hop digs a hole into the Upside Down.
Right.
So, I think it's just like, once the gate is open, the veil is weak. It's like just tears through the time-space continuum, essentially, of, Sam, the real reason is it's wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I know that's the real reason that it's there because the plot needs points, but I just want to understand from the world what's going on.
I know.
It's so frustrating.
You know what's not? What is also frustrating, but understandable.
Yeah.
Is your hatred of Mike.
I do not like Mike. And that's one of my main notes here. And this will continue.
You are not like the movie from the early 2000s.
Like Mike?
Yes.
I'm not like the commercials like Mike. If he was Michael Jeffrey Jordan's, I would absolutely like Mike, but he's not. He's Michael, whatever their last name is. That's not Byers.
Wheeler,
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this will continue every season that I don't like Mike. One of my all-time favorite moments is when Hopper decides to not quiet parent or soft parent Mike when he's like, I'll use my words, and then he just decides to lay into him and in the car. when Mike's being an absolute, like, garbage-faced human being to him. And he just feels it, and I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not that type of person in real life. I think everyone should use their words, and you should be patient and good with. But, like, I can't stand this kid. I love the actor. No. He's great. But Mike is just so annoying. And I like, people are like, oh, he's the leader. He's like my favorite character. What leadership is he doing? Just looking at Elle and being like, what's wrong with you? And then, boom, leadership done, out. Tell me.
Okay, I will, however, I will get to this when we start talking about the crazy serial killer kid. Okay. I will get to the little bit of redeeming Mike-ness.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Great.
We'll get there.
His willingness to just jump off a quarry being like, I'll be fine.
I mean, basically. But here's the thing. We'll get there. Okay, sorry.
All right. Before then.
Mike makes a comment that it's like R2-D2 trying to fight Darth Vader. I'm sorry, but I think that would actually probably go pretty well.
Okay.
I think R2-D2 has a great chance of fighting Vader, and here's a couple reasons why. First of all, the personal relationship between R2-D2 and Anakin Skywalker, in and of itself, I think, could lend itself very well. R2-D2 knows how to interact with this man, and has the ability as the narrator of the story
okay, so
to defeat Darth Vader.
I was thinking about this a lot because
sneaky ways.
Sneaky ways.
He's not gonna one-on-one combat
right.
him,
Okay,
but
so that's the main point. At first I was like, what the heck? Like, okay, I don't want to get us too sidetracked, but at first I was like, Sierra, this is stupid. This would not go well.
Mm-hmm. It would
Vader would like Coke crush R2 against his head. Like he just uses the Force on this metal and goes. Like, do we not remember when he woke up and said no and destroyed the hospital that he was in when he turns into Vader? And then I was like, oh wait, no, but R2 knows that Anakin's Vader. Oh wait, no, he doesn't. And he doesn't know the extent of his injuries because he wasn't there on Mustafar. He got told to stay with the ship, which is the whole reason why R2, when Luke was like, stay with the ship, R2's like, no, in Empire.
No.
But,
yeah.
But,
I learned from my mistake. Fool me once, shame on
and R2 is like, and R2 is kind of validated by that decision because Luke only loses a hand. He doesn't lose 3 limbs and get burnt to a crisp. So that's a point for R2. But this is not Star Wars. So then I was like, okay, actually though, Vader has a lot of metal in him, a lot of machinery in him. R2 is a droid. His whole thing is to mess around with machinery. And so if R2 can probably with all of his sensors pick up that Vader is mainly metal for almost all of his limbs, and that his suit like regulates his breathing and all that sort of stuff. I do wonder because again, Vader can't sense metal in the Force.
Right.
It brings all living beings together, and as much as R2 and C-3PO, we love them, they're not technically by Force standards living unless they're like R5, but that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
So I think it would be possible if R2 is sneaky that he fires off an EMP and just completely obliterates Vader's suit.
His life support system is just decimated.
And
I'm saying.
And then I think it could work out. Otherwise, I think he has absolutely no choice. Because I really do think they would just pan over. And if it was Stranger Things, they would pan over and R2 would be like literally painted to look like a Coke can for product placement. And then they would just like, he would just L Stranger Things the Coke can. But it would be Vader and D2. Anyways.
I love this. Also, I forgot how much we hate Steve.
Yeah.
In this first season.
Absolutely.
And also, I wrote this here, and then I continued, my rewatch. But I said, also, do we just never hear about his terrible friends again? Do they die? Please tell me they die.
Okay, so my headcanon for this...
Because his friends are horrible.
Okay. My headcanon for this is that this Troy, who we're going to speak of, we've been alluding to this moment the whole time, and we're still not there, but that Troy, who's the guy that threatens Dustin with a knife, is actually a little itty-bitty committee serial killer. And he goes around offing some people, and that's why certain characters disappear, including himself. Like, we never really see Troy that much again. And so he does that to Steve's terrible friends. And that's the reason why they're gone, is that he's just the background serial killer that Vecna's like, hey, I'm not even having to do all the bad stuff.
That would be a wild side story. Criminal Minds taking place during Stranger Things.
Would be a great spinoff.
It would be great. Yes, finally in episode 7, though, as I spoke about before, we start getting some inner storyline communication. It absolutely drives me nuts. Just, I get very anxious sometimes during these seasons when certain people know certain things and they're just not sharing it with the class. And I'm like, you guys are brother and sister. Just
talk.
You guys are son and mother. Just share something. I'm like, you guys are in the same house. Like, share something. Drives me nuts. But then Hop is getting all the pieces together. Thank goodness that he can start actually melding it into one, and he's not like one track minded, just thinking, oh, that can't have anything to do with this. Goodness gracious, it's a good thing he doesn't believe in coincidences. And he's able to pull it all together, and it's awesome.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
Speaking of things that drive me crazy and Hopper melding together, can we get him a new hat? I hate his hat. His hat's terrible. It doesn't really work for his head. It's like, supposed to be going for this kind of old-fashioned noir. Also, Joyce is a phenomenal mother. She's concerned about Elle immediately. She is so desperate to go find Will that she won't let Hopper go without him at the end of episode 7. I keep saying season, my god. It's just, she's so good, and I just love her so much.
She's really great. A parent that is not great, that is really not excellent. We haven't seen an excellent moment from this man at all, which is Mr. Wheeler, has this lovely quote, "This is our government. They're on our side. Insert laugh cry emojis until I die."
He's so oblivious, it's crazy.
God. But I feel like that's such a, 80s middle class guy thing to think, is like, hey, we got through a couple wars. We're in a good... Our government is on our side. Well, we haven't had all the scandals come out yet. We haven't had...
And it's interesting, too, here from a real-life perspective, because Reagan is president at the time, and one of his, most famous quotes about government is, the 8 scariest words in the human language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. So the fact that he seems like he would be a Reaganite man, right? He lives in Indiana in the midst of... and is a white suburban... man, those, in general, those were voters for Reagan. You would think he'd be like, oh, the government, they're here to help. Oh, no. But no, he's like, I'm sure they're on our side.
Totally. Everything's fine, honey. You let them go through our children's rooms. No problem. They can upturn our entire existence. Whatever.
They didn't even show a warrant. It's fine.
Yeah. It's totally fine. Oh, Lord almighty. Okay, we are here at the moment that we've been waiting for. I forgot how extreme
it's so extreme
this scene is. So obviously Troy's this bully. He's been bullying the boys throughout because they're nerds and he's a jock, we think. I mean, his name's Troy. One could only assume. And so we can only assume that he's been, really bullying and whatever. However, I'm sorry, a middle schooler going to cut a kid's throat or cut his teeth out of his mouth is absolutely insane. This kid is the kid of all the kids who needs all of the therapy. Because that is insane. It's insane.
It's the entire scene is just wild. From the fact that he, like, grabs Dustin and puts a knife to his throat and then tells Mike to go walk off a cliff or he's gonna cut his baby teeth out. Like, what the heck?
What?
That's
like, it goes from middle school bully to absolutely insane asylum worthy speech in 5 seconds.
And so this is from a writing perspective and from like a show perspective, my least favorite moment of everything. That includes the desert storyline in season 4. That includes the Chicago storyline in season 2, which are massively unpopular storylines with a lot of fans. I just, like, I don't understand the reason for ratcheting up.
Yeah.
And the fact that he tells Mike to go kill himself is...
Yeah. Literally.
And, like, you don't have to do that. You could have had it where they have a scrap and he gets accidentally pushed off. Like, there's no reason to up this bully level so dramatically. It feels like a sort of a rookie writing workshop mistake that you get in your, like, initial creative writing class, to me. Mm-hmm. It just feels like somebody just overshot. And I don't mean to criticize the writers that much. I think they do a phenomenal job. The rest of the show is absolutely incredible. I just do not understand this moment from a writing or a show perspective. Like, no. Troy, squeezing bladder to pee yourself in front of the school to murder?
Yeah.
And permanent disfiguration? What?
Yeah. Being a little bit humiliated all the way up to just, I'm going to murder you and your friends, essentially, is just bonkers. We do, however, get one little moment of redemption for all of Mike's whining, which is that he is literally ride or die for his friends, because he is going to die. I mean, it's crazy.
I don't think he realizes that he's going to die, though, because he's like, no, it's fine.
I don't think so either. He's just, I think he just thinks he's going to get really hurt or something like that. But there's not a way he lives through that.
I mean, Hopper explains it at the beginning. The water becomes like cement, as he calls it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just, like, I think Troy probably also doesn't understand that he's going to die, to be fair. Probably I think everybody just has this misconception that water is not a solid, and that when you get up to terminal velocity, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But, and like, the only chance Mike would even have is if he pencil dived with a perfect angle, but he doesn't. He goes belly flop, which is he's going to shatter all of his bones.
Yeah.
But also, I will say, okay, so sure, Mike is willing to make sure that Dustin isn't hurt. That's true. He's also stupid, though. And this is my whole thing about, he's such a great leader. Is he? Like, the smart thing to do is just to be like, hey man, you're gonna permanently disfigure my friend, we're gonna go tell everybody who did this, and you're gonna get arrested. Like, there's...
Yeah.
What? Also, like, they're baby teeth, so, like, he doesn't... As Dustin says, he doesn't need them. Like, just keep fighting. Like, unless he's actually going to kill...
Yeah.
He's just an idiot.
Yeah.
But again, it's the whole scene is just upsetting. But you're right, he's literally ride or die. He's a very loyal friend. Yes. He'd make a great, stupid Hufflepuff.
For now. Before he has a girlfriend.
Indeed. Speaking of having feelings, you've got your last note here.
My last note here just cracked me up. From now on, we tell each other everything between Mike and Nancy, and then they immediately lie to each other about their emotions, which is just a classic sibling move that really tickled me.
Absolutely.
It's like, we tell each other everything from now on, immediate lies.
Are you dating Jonathan? What? No. Do you like 11? No. Okay.
Great. We're all on the same page. Excellent.
Lovely.
So funny. You know, Sam, what is the most important character moment of this set of episodes?
The only thing that I think is actually the most important moment, because there's a lot of moments that are leading up to episode 8. So none of them have really reached their sort of climax. But I think in this case, it's Nancy gaining her confidence and sense of self, where she wields the gun, she goes into the forest with Jonathan, she goes into the unknown. She goes into the, well, it is the unknown, but the upside down.
Into the unknown. Sorry, no, we're not going to get copyrighted on that one. Dang it! You had one job!
Our GoFundMe will be at Sierra Don't Get Sued, GoFundMe.com. No, I think that it's her moment of diving into, like, actually going through the tree hole to the upside down. I think that character moment is so important for what defines Nancy for the rest of the series.
Yeah. No, I definitely would agree, for sure.
Fantastic. And I know that you just lost a hand, Sierra, but I'd like you to listen, because it's time for I Am Your Father category of most iconic character moment.
It has to be 11 flipping
100%.
the van. That's so iconic. I mean, you think of Stranger Things and it's just the the slow-mo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. It's awesome. I mean, it already has all of the 80s E.T. vibes. Yes. It already has...
The bike, the bad men are coming.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all in vans. And instead of them going up and over the canyon, it's her flipping the bus up and over. It's beautiful.
Exactly.
It's phenomenal.
So good.
It's amazing. I'm the opposite. You and I are the opposite of whatever those Muppets are called. Waldorf and whatever his name is. We're not heckling. We're absolutely adorizing it.
Yes.
I have two honorable mentions for this, because it is 100% the 11 flipping the van. I will say Hopper entering Joyce's house with the sign saying "Don't say anything" and his finger on his lips is an amazing moment.
It's pretty.
I don't know that it's iconic, but every time I see it, I'd forgotten it every time, which is why I don't think it's iconic. But every time I'm like, oh yeah, give it to me, let's go. And then 11 stealing the Eggos and breaking the store, I think, is actually iconic. Her like piling those Eggos into her arm. But product placement will always sort of jot it down a bit.
Detract.
For me. Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Everybody, sit down. It's time for our I Am Iron Man. Most iconic and most important scene category.
So, I've got a couple of different versions. Mainly just two. In fact, it's literally a couple. There's the bus face-off scene, which we return up to this sort of like car graveyard up on a hill setting a lot. It reminds me a little bit of Dragon Age 2, where you're like, oh, the warehouse where my mom got torn apart is also the warehouse where this chest is, and it's also this place where I'm meeting the slave traders. And this is one of those places. So they're up in this old school bus. They're hiding from the bad men with Elle and Lucas and Mike and crew. And they're trying to see if Hopper is Lando, where he's betrayed them, or if he's actually cool. 3 men arrive in suits, and off screen we hear somebody take them out. And then Hopper comes on the bus and says, "Let's go!" And, it sort of picks up from there.
So good.
The other one that I have is perhaps also the kiddie pool sensory deprivation tank in the school gymnasium scene. The school gym becomes such another one of those places that we keep going back to. And this sort of salt in the pool deprivation tank becomes almost somewhat of a cliche scene now for Stranger Things. So those are my two iconic scenes, but we got to pick one. So where are you leaning?
I think I'd lean towards the bus face-off, more just because I think when I think of more like iconic situations and scenes in Stranger Things over the seasons, I do remember the bus and the like car graveyard a lot more than I ever think about them being in the gym.
Okay.
So I think that just becomes a little bit more impactful when you have them like luring the Demodogs and like from that same bus, and then they come back to the bus again when they're like tracking both up and below and things like that. So I feel like just for kind of leading through all the different seasons, I would argue that that is the more important, based on location.
Yeah.
Location.
Location.
Plus, I think that it's the first time that the kids really see Hopper as someone that they can trust and connect with, and not just like another adult.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Okay, we'll go with that one. So now it's time to crack open an encyclopedia because it is, as Elijah Wood once said, "No! How could we have known?" category, where we discuss the most important information disseminated to the fandom over these last 3 episodes, which you've got.
Yes, 11 opened the gate when trying to make contact with the Demogorgon.
Okay, we've talked about this so much, but yes, absolutely.
I mean, that's like the most vital piece of information that is passed along during these episodes, is that is how this gate was opened. Yeah.
And there's still so much
we've talked about.
We don't understand about it.
I know.
It's crazy. So keep that in mind for season 5. 11 opens the gate. She's that powerful.
Yes, time to keep your horses safe. It is the "I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse" category of best lines. I absolutely love, "She's our friend and she's crazy."
If this other line didn't happen, Sierra, I would be 100% with you. That is the best line. But it's unacceptable when compared to the police station secretary who's talking to Nancy about Jonathan after he beats up Steve, and she cooks on this line when she says, she's like, "Tell your boyfriend," and Nancy's like, "What? He's not my boyfriend. What would make you say that?" And she goes,
"Yeah."
She's putting ice into like some sort of handkerchief or towel or something, because it's the 80s and they haven't made ice packs apparently. And she goes, "Only loves make you that crazy, sweetheart," and then hands her the ice pack, and that damn stupid. It's
so good.
It's amazing, and that's absolutely the best line in which you cannot.
Fair enough.
Thank you. Also, I will point out that right after that, Nancy immediately takes all the credit for the ice because she hands the ice to Jonathan, and she goes, "Found some ice." No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You were handed it while being given a life lesson by a random woman.
Oh, gosh.
Yep. Dust off that old card deck. Get ready to shuffle. It's our Joker category for who is the MVP of this episode. I have 3 choices for you, Sierra.
Okay. All right, I'm ready.
Nancy, Jonathan, who do the whole figuring out to go into a tree hole, get the Demogorgon, understand that it's attracted to blood, all that sort of stuff. You've got Dustin,
a lot of legwork,
who's the one who does all the math figures for the sensory deprivation tank, which confirms Barb's death and Will's being alive. I think I would go with this guy. Just pound for pound impact, which is just my favorite way to think about MVPs, is Mr. Clark. Because he, in this, explains the entire premise of punching through to different dimensions and giving them the clues of gravitational pull and electromagnetic pulses and all that stuff. He's not on the screen for very long, but he's absolutely vital to them actually being able to go and do anything. So he's not necessarily the basket maker, but he's the play maker. Yeah.
Wow, those are 3 very good options. We may have to go with Mr. Clark for this one. Because without him, it's not understood how any of this works. Or how you would get there, or how anything would get through, or how you would connect to it.
He's also the one that tells them how to make...
It's what the flea on the tightrope.
Yeah, and he tells them how to make the stupid deprivation tank thing.
True. Yeah, gotta be Mr. Clark.
It's gotta be Mr. Clark. Okay, Mr. Clark, MVP, which is crazy.
Wild.
It's wild that he gets an MVP vote and award. But he does.
Yes, indeed. Well, Sam, it's time to clean up your evil lair and get ready for our I was the turkey all along category for what is the biggest takeaway viewers should leave with in preparation for season 5.
You guessed it.
There is still more going on than we can fully understand. 11 opened the gate to the Upside Down. The lab already knew the Upside Down was there because they're trying to make contact. So, how did they know about the Upside Down? 11, is she grown specifically for the purpose of reaching through to the Upside Down, or were there other purposes for her? There's so much going on in kind of her still we get a lot more information about her backstory, but we still don't fully understand kind of what happened to jumpstart this specific them making contact with the Upside Down and how that involves 11.
Yeah, I it's really it's great fodder for podcasting. It is a little frustrating though. And we get a little bit of this answer in season 4. We know that they are being trained to do psycho stuff because Brenner's interested in that. We know from the play what I said earlier. I don't want to spoil it again in case people skipped over that Brenner has some real reasons why he's invested in the Upside Down, that he kind of knows where it is ish. And we've got all the Vecna information. So 11 is grown to sort of do what Vecna was doing before Vecna was uncontrollable, before they put in Vecna's little, hey, stop doing this technology. But there's just a lot more that I feel like needs to be disseminated. Exactly how did the gate get opened? Right? Is it the fear? Is it the scream? Is it 11 losing control? Is it just her punching through when she touched the Demogorgon? That sort of stuff. I think that's absolutely true. There's also some information given about her powers. Specifically. So Mike and Dustin have this explanation as to what's going on with 11 to Joyce and the adults and stuff. Mike says, whenever she uses her powers, she gets weak. Dustin adds, the more energy she uses, the more tired she gets. Mike, but she's drained. Dustin, like a battery. Joyce, how do we make her better? So that's when we're introduced to the sensory deprivation tanks and how 11 needs to be on one in order to tap into her 6th senses, kind of, to be better at doing it. As you said, she does it with white noise later, but the sensory deprivation certainly helps the most doing that. But it is frustrating because we don't really know for what reason her senses, need calming down. We don't know why. I can now smell better because all my other senses are turned off, although people say that's true. Is that just it? Is it that simple, or is it something else? That sort of stuff.
I mean, if you've ever been driving down a road and you need to pay attention to what you're seeing, you turn the radio down.
That's true. Fair point. I concede defeat. But it is this strange space that Stranger Things sometimes lives in this, it's a mixture of soft fantasy and hard fantasy. And with all the science fiction, the hard science fiction that they put in, this is how this happens. It is frustrating sometimes to get the soft fantasy when you're like, but you're so good at the science fiction aspects. Why is this soft for the fantasy?
Also another thing that we really learn and get some information about is just that the Upside Down has the same layout as real life, and that people can be kind of tracked through it and somewhat heard through the veil, essentially, between real life and the Upside Down. That definitely comes into play in later seasons. Go to the XYZ location, up or down, and, be able to interact through that and everything. So I think that is a very important thing that we find out in these episodes, is just that it's a mirrored situation. And also being able to hear through it more than through lights or radio static or whatever the case may be, and actually be able to communicate through, super key.
Yeah, and what, we've been saying, Mr. Clark explains that we have this huge amount of energy to create a hole through the barrier to get to the Upside Down. That it would mess with gravity, magnetic fields, etc. I do find it fascinating that the Upside Down is exactly the same layout, but as if it's
Yeah.
Like, it bears all these questions on, like, okay, so is what happens in Hawkins, does that set what's going on? Like, as soon as a house gets built in the Upside Down, like, what's going on with that? Or is it just like, did Vecna just recreate his old town? Because when he gets there, like, what's happening with that? There's a lot of questions to be had for that as well, that I think that they'll answer in season 5, because we started to get some sort of flash answers at the end of season 4.
Right. Hopefully.
Interestingly enough, the Veil of Shadows in a D&D context is made up for the show.
Really?
Yeah, so I did some sleuthing on the internet. It's Veil of Shadows is not a Dungeons & Dragons concept. However, it is clearly a reference to both Shadow Veil and the Plane of Shadows. But it is...
Okay. That's
like,
that. I think I was thinking of the Plane of Shadows.
It is alluding to D&D, like, actual, like, not D&D being used as a mechanic to play, but, like, the actual Dungeons & Dragons world.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So that I thought was fascinating.
That is really interesting. I guess it's just kind of like such a common, I don't know about common, but it's a concept that you see in a number of different fantasy settings. And so I guess it just extrapolates out that it would make a lot of sense for that to exist. But yeah, that does kind of surprise me that it specifically
especially when, like,
is not in there.
You know that Vecna is like an actual D&D character. It is. I hadn't realized that it was made up for the show specifically. That was cool. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, no. That is cool. Today's public service announcement. Are you a switchblade wielding serial killer middle school bully? Same! That's why I went to Dr. Brenner's Home for the Criminally Insane. He zaps the bully right out of you. Well, thank you, listener schmisseners, for listening to this episode of Fandom Schmandom. If you'd like to discuss this episode or any other episode we've done, please hit us up on our social media channels. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Fandom Schmandom Pod and on X at Fandom_Schmandom.
Please don't forget to rate and review us if you like the episode. It really helps with the algorithm placing us in the algorithms of other like-minded schmisseners out there. And with that, we're out, y'all.
Don't forget to tip your Demogorgons.
And fare thee well!
Fandom Schmandom was created by Sam Williams and Sierra Obermark. The show is produced by Aurelia Lieb. The editor is Brittany Fisher. The music is by Jeremiah Alves.
Sorry, I just got like stuck in my throat for a second. Great start.
Welcome to Sierra dying.
Yes. Woo. Okay.
Ba ba ba. I'm sure Brittany at this point is like, what the hell is this going on?
You guys have been recording for 10 minutes and you haven't said a single damn thing.
And also, like, why do I have to cut out all of this? Everything is coming together, which might be good news for Jonathan, Nancy, Hopper, and Joyce, but it's not for Dr. Brenner, Mike, Luke de Soleil. We get Elle's powers more fully explored. Oh my god. Sorry, Brett, cut that section. Brittany, I have 17,000 million apologies for you. I'm very sorry. This is such a difficult episode.
If you don't skip through all the time that we've told you to skip through, and you end up listening to all of our million apologies in silence, then here's 1,000,001 apology for the chaos that is this episode.
Hey, we did it! Brittany, we did it. Brittany, we did it. Brittany, I'm sorry!